Welcome to In the Classroom, a podcast where we explore the foundations of learning and development through various lenses of education. I am Gene Paggett's Monkey, and throughout his work, I can personally tell you he has sought out to understand how children actively construct their knowledge through interaction with the world around them. In this series today, we will dive deep into the ideas that form the backbone of this philosophy known as constructivism. How knowledge isn't passively absorbed but built through experiences, exploration, and reflection. Join me as we uncover how understanding the stages of cognitive development can transform the way we teach, grow, and learn in the classroom. Let's embark on this journey together, and most importantly, let's have some fun.
Okay, let's
Your
go.
phone's at like 32.
Boom, boom. Okay, ready? 1, 2, 3. Welcome back to another episode of In the Classroom, the podcast where we dive deep into educational theories and how they shape the way we learn, teach, and grow. I'm Esme, and today's episode is a special one. We're taking a close look at constructivism, a powerful educational philosophy that emphasizes learners' active role in their own education.
Hi guys, I'm Dulce, and that's right, Esme. Constructivism is all about how knowledge is actively constructed by the learner, and that's based on their personal experiences and the way that they reflect on them. Today, we're going to explore this philosophy in depth. And who is there better to ask than the father of constructivism himself, Croissant Jean Piaget?
Yes, and we will also be diving into some key questions that explore how different educational philosophies shape teaching and learning. So let's get right to it.
I'm excited. Let's get started by jumping into the first question.
Okay, Jean, before we dive deep into the questions, can you give us an overview of what constructivism is all about? How would you personally describe this philosophy?
So, constructivism, as I envision it, is an educational philosophy that emphasizes the active role of learners in constructing their own understanding of information. Knowledge is not something that is merely transferred from teacher to the student, but rather something that the students actively build through their experiences. Each individual brings their own prior knowledge and perspective into the learning process. And through interactions and with the environment and social interactions with others, they shape and reshape their understanding. In this view, the teacher is not just a lecturer, but a facilitator who creates an environment where students can explore, ask questions, and test ideas. The process of learning is seen as a journey of discovery.
Interesting. So, it's less about memorizing facts and it's more about making sense of the world around you. This sounds like a really dynamic approach to learning, so let's hear more about it.
Exactly, Dusan. The learner is at the center, and the role of the teacher is to guide and support them, not just to provide answers. Learning happens through the active engagement, exploration, and reflection. The learner's own experiences play a crucial role in shaping their own knowledge.
So, Jean, can you start by telling us what is the role of the teacher in constructivism? And how does it differ from other educational philosophies?
Mm-hmm. Thank you for the question, Chris. The teachers are guides or facilitators. They create an environment that encourages students to explore, ask questions, and discover answers for themselves. They support the learning process, but not dictate it. This is quite different from the more traditional approaches where the teacher is often seen as the authority and the source of all knowledge.
So, if we're looking at this in comparison with other philosophies such as protagonism or social reconstruction, what would that say about the student's role in, say, a more traditional education setting, such as behaviorism?
In constructivism, the student is an active participant. The learner is not just absorbing information, they are constructing their own understanding based on their experiences, prior knowledge, and interactions with others. In philosophies like essentialism, for example, students are expected to follow a structured curriculum and master predetermined content with little room of exploration.
So, if the student is the one actively constructing knowledge, how does this impact the balance between structure and flexibility in the classroom? Is there room for both?
There is indeed a balance, but there's also flexibility in how students approach problems and projects. This allows students to take ownership of their learning. However, in more structured philosophies, the emphasis is much more on fixed content and rigor structures. The flexibility that constructivism promotes can sometimes lead to challenges when trying to assess students' progress.
And how does constructivism address the development of critical thinking and problem-solving skills in the classroom?
Critical thinking and problem solving are at the heart of constructivism. Students are encouraged to ask questions, solve real-world problems, and think critically about the information they encounter. Rather than memorizing facts, they are taught to ask questions, analyze, and synthesize information. This helps develop the skills needed to approach problems from multiple angles, fostering deeper understanding. Are you okay, Mimi?
I am fine. Thank
Okay.
you, Jake.
Great.
So, what about standardized testing? How does constructivism approach assessment compared to more traditional philosophies that rely on tests and grades?
So, Esme, in constructivism, there is less emphasis on standard testing, as it often fails to capture the true depth of students' understanding. Instead, assessment is more focused on individual progress, self-reflection, and the ability to apply knowledge in different circumstances. In traditional education systems, however, standardized testing is often used to measure success, which can limit students' creativity and focus on how they learn rather than what they know.
So Judy says that it could limit students' creativity. So speaking of that, how does constructivism promote or hinder creativity in the classroom?
Constructivism promotes creativity by students who explore, experiment, and find their own solutions to problems. It encourages students to use their imagination and critical thinking skills in a way that rigor curriculums often do not. In certain models, the creativity might be sifted by the pressure to conform to specific guidelines and timelines. Constructivism, on the other hand, creates a space for students to think outside the box. For example, in a literature class, students might be asked to rewrite a scene from a novel, but with a twist, changing the setting, characters, or outcomes. This allows them to engage critically with the material and express their personal interpretations rather than simply analyzing the text in a prescribed way.
So, how does constructivism address the diversity of students' abilities and their learning preferences?
Constructivism recognizes that each student is unique and learning is in their own way. Some students may excel in hands-on learning, while others may be more reflective. The philosophy embraces this diversity by providing opportunities for individual learning and adjusting the teaching methods to suit that particular student's needs. This stands in contrast to more rigored systems, which might not account for a full spectrum of learning styles.
So, well, Jean, this has been such an insightful conversation. Thank you for sharing your thoughts on constructivism with us today.
It's been my pleasure. Remember, education is a process of consistent discovery, not just for the students, but for the teacher as well.
Yes. And now that wraps up our episode on constructivism. We hope you've gained some valuable insight on how educational philosophies shape the classroom and how it compares to others.
This is our last episode of In the Classroom, but make sure to check out the other episodes where we talk about different educational philosophies and how they influence the way we learn. Thanks for tuning in.
Thank you guys so much for coming along this journey with us and learning about so many different philosophies along with their philosophers explaining them. And as always, keep learning, keep growing, and thank you so much for joining In the Classroom.
Yeah.